Hello everyone! So for today's video, I decided that I would do my March bullet journal setup for everyone. I started by choosing my colors. So the colors I chose for this theme were blue, yellow, orange, and gray, and they're all the mild liners colors. I think they turned out super cute for this retro arcade theme that I decided to go with. I was super excited about the retro arcade theme part of this bullet journal spread, which is the entire thing. I don't know why I said part, but I thought it would be super cute to do different games for different like habit trackers and mood trackers. You'll see as the video goes on. But first I started with my journal entry page, and in order to add a little bit of extra decorative things to it, I drew little circles, squares, triangles, and squiggly lines with the three main colors, the orange, yellow, and blue. And then I did a little bit of an offset trace around them. You'll see in a second. I'll do them bigger on the second page right here when we get to that page, and you'll see what I mean. But first I decided I needed to draw my arcade machine. So there's me just drawing it. I sketched it out a little bit first, but it ended up a little bit different than originally, because originally I wasn't using a ruler when I was drawing it. I was pretty happy with how it turned out, and then I decided that I wanted some color with it, so I took my mild liners of the three colors and I wrote March, and then I drew the screen yellow, which you will see in a second, and then I drew the machine orange. Also, I just realized I never explained the journal entry page as much as I would have liked. So for the little circle, half circle things that I did, I just used a fine tip marker and traced a bunch of lines in the sort of area that I wanted to write in. I thought it was a cute look, and then it was also nice because it didn't have to be perfectly shaped. It just looks a little bit abstract. Anyways, here's me finishing coloring this in. I accidentally did a few strokes that made it look darker, so I just colored the front of it darker, but not the side, to make it look like I did shading on purpose. And then here I am doing the shapes once again with all the colors. I did all the same color at a time, unlike before, because it ended up saving me time because I didn't have to switch markers. But here is me doing the yellow, and then I will do the trace overlay that you'll see that I was talking about earlier. So here I am doing that trace overlay. First I've got the squares that I did, and then I started on triangles. But basically I did the same size as the shape and the same shape, but then I just offset it a little, and it was to every direction. It really depended on which one I was doing, but you can see, especially with like some of the triangles, and it's easier to see on the right side. But yeah, I thought that looked super cute and added a lot to this spread. It was just an extra thing that could add some dimension. Here's me moving on to my month out of view. I used a ruler here to help me draw some straight lines, and then I just used my gray mild liner to draw out the lines because I didn't want to use black outlines for every single one. Then I added my colors in like a squiggly little shape at the top to add the days of the week, and then I added circles of every color throughout the month so that I could put the dates. After that, I filled in the dates, and then I wrote the days of the week with my fine liner, and then I moved on to my March goals part of the page right there. I drew little arcade machines and wrote goals in the top one and events in the bottom one. It's a little bit hard to read from the video, but I thought they turned out super cute. It was also a good way to implement the orange and blue again, because there was a lot of yellow, I felt like, at the top. And also on the next page, I'm planning on there being a lot of yellow because it's my mood tracker, and that's like the one for happy, and I'm expecting a lot of good to come from this month. Once again, after this, I added the shapes at the top with the offset tracing, and I sped this part up a little bit more so that you wouldn't have to watch it again. But basically I'm just doing the same thing. They're just a little bit smaller than the first one and a lot smaller than the second one, obviously. But I thought it still turned out super cute, and it added a nice look to the month at a view, month at a glance, whatever you'd like to call it, at the very top of the page. After this, I moved on to my mood tracker, which I was super excited about. Basically, you can see that it's sketched out, and I'll start working on it in a second, but I have been thinking about this spread since I started my bullet journal, and Tetris isn't even my favorite game, but I just thought it would be such a cute idea to have a Tetris board where I fill in all of the little cubes for the days and how I'm feeling. So I decided to do this mood tracker, and you can see that it did turn out pretty good, I think. I was super happy with it, and I'm so excited to fill it out. It looks a little bit boring right now because, for obvious reasons, I haven't filled it out yet, but once I do, I know that it'll be pretty colorful and hopefully have a lot of yellow for my happy days, but hopefully it'll end up looking super fun, and it'll make more sense too once I color it in, because there'll be empty spaces instead of like all of them being colored, if you know how the game Tetris works, you know. So then I also ran out of space to draw enough cubes for the whole month, and so I ended up numbering the letters at the bottom and like the button and the controller thing so that I could fill those in for my days and my emotions as well. On to my next spread. So this ended up being my most favorite spread of the entire monthly setup that I did, and it took me the longest as well, so that might be part of it. But I decided to do a Pacman habit tracker. And so the way that it'll work is that there'll be little dots that you'll see in a moment, and I'll fill them in with a specific color for like how many days a month I do that habit. And so yeah, I'll explain that more when it comes, but to explain how I put the thing together, I basically just drew curvy like T looking things and then like lines and squares, if that makes sense. You can look at it and see, but then I did an outline with a double like traced layering, if that makes any sense at all. So I just drew two lines right next to each other, and that made it like the border. And then I also did that for the middle section. The middle section will also be my key, so determining what habit is what color. Then the title, I used a Pacman font, and I just found one on Google and copied it. And then here I am drawing the ghosts for the key, just to add a little bit of extra like fun to it. I colored the ghosts the specific colors, like I said earlier, for the key. So the gray one was whether or not I hit my calorie goal for the day. The yellow one was whether or not I exercised. The orange one was if I had any procrastinated homework after, or if I didn't have any procrastinated homework by the end of the day. And then the blue one is if I had cleaned or done my cleaning for the day. And then here I am drawing the little circles that I was talking about earlier that I would fill in. I did them in different sections so that it looked like he had eaten some of them, but then the sections are the different ones that I'll color in. Then I colored the title, and I did that drop shadow effect, as you can see, and I colored that in with gray just to add a little bit more effect. And then I had some extra space there as well, so I drew some pictures like a Pac-Man and the ghosts and the cherries, and I thought it added a lot of cute perspective to it. Right here, I am doing my expenses tracker. For this one, I decided to do a brick breaker theme just because I thought it would look fun, and then it also was a great way to separate the page into two different sections so that I could do one section with the money that I've spent and one section with the money that I've earned for this month, because that's all I really need to do to track my money right now, since I'm not really paying for bills or things myself. So I just want to know how much I spend in a month and how much I'm also bringing in. For the font, I did a pixely look, so I just drew little squares into letters, as you can see, and then I ended up coloring them, each of the squares little different colors. If you guys would like, let me know in the comments, and on my Instagram page or possibly in another video, I can do a tutorial on how to make letters look pixely, like that pixely font, just like that. Anyways, moving on to the coloring of this spread. I didn't want to color in the entire part because this mild liner is kind of dark, and so it would have been hard to see if I had written on it. So I decided to just trace an outline on the inside of the thing that I had made, if that makes any sense. But that way it added color, and it also left white space for me to be able to write everything that I needed to for the month, and it wouldn't be terribly hard to see. Then I colored the ball blue just because I could, and then the little bar at the bottom yellow, even though you couldn't see it. Sorry that I kind of drew this part to the side, but it'll come right in the middle again in just a moment. Here's me coloring all the little squares into the different colors though, and then I'll show you guys the spread. There we go. Sorry that it was off a little bit. Anyways, I added the labels of money spent and money earned so that I knew where it was, and I moved on to my first weekly spread. So for this weekly spread, I went with a Galacta theme, and I thought it turned out super fun. Here you can see me just drawing out the boxes. It's the basic boxes I usually do on all my spreads, but then I added the little rocket ship from the game. I just looked up another picture on Google and kind of made it really similar. It's not exact, but it's my interpretation of it. And then at the top, I just drew the little aliens that you fight off in the game, and I thought it was super fun. And then there was a little gap in the middle between my days, so I added a little bullet, as you can see, and there's another one as well. And then I colored everything in. I really liked the yellow at the top of each week. I thought it looked super cute, and I will probably end up using this for a lot more spreads. But then I also colored in the title right here, just alternating every color, and colored in the rocket ship a little bit as well. And then I was done with this spread. And this spread honestly went really fast, but I thought it turned out cute. I ended up adding some stars at the top for a little bit of extra detail, but I just really liked how it turned out. And you can probably guess what game this one is. This is Pong, and I just used blue, and I drew the two sides and the ball. And so then that was pretty much it. I just drew the boxes afterwards and put the title week 2, put all the days of the week, and I was finished with that spread. So the rest of my spreads are not in this video. Stay tuned for the flip through. But if you guys want to see the rest of my spreads for this, then you can check out my Instagram account, McKenna Williams YouTube, and there'll be a link in the description. And also, you can check out my other videos that it'll probably show up in. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. I was really happy with how this turned out, and I really appreciate all of your support. I hope that you guys have a wonderful day, and check out my other videos if you feel so inclined.